You're alone in the desert at night. Rain tapping softly on the roof, wind moving through the trees. And then you hear footsteps outside. Slow, careful, almost human. The terrifying part isn't that something is out there. It's that, whatever it is, has been listening to you long enough to sound exactly like someone you trust. The first thing you need to understand is this. It wasn't pretending to be a monster. It was pretending to be my brother, and it almost fooled me. My name is Aaron Whitlock. I grew up in northern Arizona, about 30 miles outside a Navajo reservation, where the desert stretches endlessly and the night feels alive. We were warned growing up not about coyotes, not about mountain lions, about something else. Don't whistle at night, my grandmother used to say. Don't answer if you hear your name in the dark. And above all, if you see an animal standing like a man. Run, I used to laugh at those warnings. Until last October, my younger brother Mason loved night hiking. Said the desert felt honest after sunset. No tourists, no noise, just wind and stars. On October 17th, he didn't come home. His truck was found near Red Mesa Canyon. Driver's door open. Engine off. Phone on the seat. No signs of struggle. Search teams found tracks leading into the desert. Then the tracks changed. At first, they were clearly Mason's boots. Then, about half a mile in, they became barefoot. The toes were too long. The stride was wrong. The heel sank deeper than a human foot should. And then the prints just stopped. Like whatever made them, vanished. The police called it exposure. Said he wandered off, disoriented. But I knew my brother, Mason, didn't wander. He hunted. He tracked. He survived. Something else found him. 3 nights later, I heard scratching at my window. Slow, deliberate. I live alone in a small house at the edge of town. No trees near the windows. Nothing that could brush against the glass. The scratching continued. Drag, dot, tap, dot, drag, dot. I grabbed the baseball bat from under my bed and stepped toward the window. The curtains were closed. The scratching stopped. Then a voice, soft, hoarse, double quotes, Aaron. My blood turned cold. It was Mason's voice, but wrong, like someone imitating him after hearing him underwater. Aaron, open the door. The front door, not the window. The voice had moved. Too fast. I didn't respond. The handle of my front door turned slowly, click, 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 like someone testing the lock, then dash 3 knocks. Exactly 3, Aaron, it's cold. Tears filled my eyes. It sounded so much like him, but Mason knew something. We had a rule growing up. If one of us ever came home late, we'd knock twice, pause, then knock once. Always that pattern. 2, pause. 1, this thing knocked 3 times. Evenly dotted didn't know. Or it forgot. I stayed silent. For 10 minutes, I stood in the dark listening. Then I heard footsteps walking away from the house. Heavy footsteps, not barefoot, not boots, something else. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I checked the ground outside. My front door, there were tracks, barefoot but too large. The toes were long and thin, the heel was narrow, and the stride was unnatural, too far apart. Like whatever made them wasn't used to human legs. My neighbor, Mrs. Calder, walked by while I was staring at them. "You see it too?" she asked quietly. My heart skipped. "See what?" She looked toward the desert. "The tall one." I felt my stomach drop. "You've seen it?" She nodded slowly. "Last winter, it stood at the edge of my yard. Just watched the house." "What did it look like?" She hesitated. "Like a man wearing something wrong." That was the first time I heard it described that way. Wearing something wrong. That night, I decided to record everything. If this thing wanted to pretend to be my brother, I wanted proof. I set up cameras around the house. Motion sensors, floodlights, at 2:13 a.m. The first alert went off. Backyard camera. I opened the live feed. Nothing, just the empty yard. Then the camera, glitched. Static filled the screen. When it cleared, it was standing there, near the fence tall too. Tall dot at least 7 feet. Its body looked thin, stretched. It was hunched slightly, like it wasn't comfortable standing upright. Its arms hung too long. Its fingers nearly touched its knees. And its face. God, its face looked like Mason, but not right. The skin looked loose, pulled, like someone wearing a mask that didn't quite fit. Its mouth hung slightly open. Its eyes were black. Not dark, brown, black, completely. It stared directly into the camera, then it smiled. But the smile moved too wide, like it didn't understand how far human lips should stretch. The feed cut to static again. My backyard floodlights exploded in sparks, and then a knock. 2 knocks, pause, but 1 knock, but my heart stopped. It learned. It was adapting. "Aaron," it called softly. "This time the voice was perfect. Exactly Mason's tone. Exactly his cadence. "I'm hurt." I gripped the bat so hard my hands went numb. "You're not my brother," I whispered. Silence. Then the voice changed. Lower, rougher. "You left me?" The door began to shake, not gently testing the knob. Violently, wood splintered. The hinges screamed and then it stopped. Complete silence. I waited. Minutes passed. Nothing. Finally. I looked through the EPH. Only, there was nothing there. Just empty. Darkness. I didn't open the door. I never would. The next morning, 3 dogs in the neighborhood were found dead. Not eaten, just broken. Like something practiced on them. And carved into the dirt near my mailbox was my name. Aaron, spelled correctly. That's when I realized something horrifying. This wasn't just hunting. It wasn't just mimicking. It was studying me, learning me, and it wasn't done that night. My phone rang at 3:07 a.m. Unknown number. I answered, before I could stop myself. Heavy breathing. Then Aaron. "Let me in." The call disconnected out and outside my bedroom window. Something began to whistle, slow, soft, deliberate. My grandmother's voice echoed in my head. "Don't whistle at night, because if you hear, it already sees you." And this time, it wasn't outside the house. The whistling was coming from inside. The whistling was coming from inside the house. Soft, slow, almost playful. I was frozen in my bedroom doorway, the baseball bat hanging useless in my hand. The sound drifted from the hallway, then stopped, then started again, closer this time. It wasn't random. It was moving. My entire body felt cold, like the air had been sucked out of my lungs. I hadn't heard any windows break. I hadn't heard the door open. Every lock had been secured, but it was inside. The whistle stopped. Silence swallowed the house. Then I heard it. A slow, dragging step on the wooden floorboards. One step, pause, another. It was mimicking someone walking carefully, learning the rhythm of a human body. "Aaron," Mason's voice whispered from the darkness beyond my bedroom. Perfectly clear, perfectly calm. "I'm home." My throat tightened. Tears burned in my eyes. For half a second, just half, I wanted to believe it. But Mason would never say that. He would say, "I made it," or "You were right." He wouldn't say, "I'm home." That wasn't him. The hallway light flickered on. I hadn't touched the switch. The light buzzed weakly, casting long shadows across the corridor. And at the far end of the hall, near the living room, it stood there tall. Too tall. Its head almost touched the ceiling. The skin on its face stretched tight and loose at the same time, like it had been pulled over a skull that didn't match Mason's hair, Mason's jawline. But the proportions were wrong. Its arms were too long, its shoulders too narrow, and its chest barely rose when it breathed. It tilted its head slightly, studying me. Then it smiled again. This time, the lips tore slightly at the corners. A thin line of dark blood ran down its chin. "You didn't come for me," it said. The voice was layered now. Mason's voice mixed with something deeper underneath, something ancient and hollow. I searched. I whispered. It took one slow step forward. The floor creaked loudly beneath its weight. "You stopped." The hallway light burst. Glass shattered. Darkness swallowed us both. I swung the bat blindly and ran back into my bedroom, slamming the door and locking it. The whistling started. Again, but now it came from everywhere. From inside the walls, from under the floor, from the ceiling above. Me, it wasn't moving. It was surrounding. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. Unknown number again. I didn't want to answer, but I did. "Hello?" My voice cracked. There was no breathing this time, no delay. Just Mason's voice, calm and steady. "Behind you." The line went dead. I spun around. The bedroom window was open. The curtains moved gently in the night air. I was sure I had locked that window. And outside, standing in the yard under the moonlight, was another one. Identical. Same. Stretched skin. Same black eyes. Same broken smile. It stared directly at me. But something was different. It wasn't smiling. It looked curious, like it was watching something unfold, like it wasn't the one inside. My blood ran cold. There were two of them. The one in the hallway, slammed against my bedroom door. Wood splintered. The doorknob bent inward. The second one, outside, slowly lifted its hand and pressed a long finger against the glass. Tap, dot, tap, dot, tap, dot, 3 times. Evenly spaced. The first one roared. Not a human scream, not an animal growl. Something in between. Something wrong. The bedroom door exploded inward. Wood shards flew across the room. The thing filled the doorway, its back nearly scraping the frame. It stepped inside, and I finally saw its body clearly. It wasn't just wearing Mason's face. Pieces of fur clung to its arms. Strips of hide hung loosely from its torso. Its legs bent slightly backward, just enough to notice it hadn't fully decided what shape to take. It was still choosing. It lunged. I dove sideways as its hand crashed into the wall, leaving deep gouges in the drywall like claws. It moved faster than anything that size should. It grabbed the bed frame and hurled it aside like it weighed nothing. I scrambled toward the closet where my grandfather's old hunting rifle was stored. My hands shook violently as I loaded it. The creature's breathing filled the room. Wet, heavy. It tilted its head again. "You're afraid?" it said softly. Then its voice changed. It became my own. "Perfect. You're afraid." Hearing myself come from that thing broke something inside me. I raised the rifle. "Get out!" I shouted. It stepped closer. Or what? I fired. The shot exploded through the room. The bullet hit its shoulder. It stumbled back, letting out a screech that rattled the windows. Black blood sprayed across the wall, but it didn't fall. Instead, its skin began to ripple, shift the face, stretched, melted, reshaped. Mason's features dissolved into something older. The eyes grew larger, the mouth split wider, teeth lengthened into jagged points. This wasn't its true form, but it was closer. It screamed again, louder this time, and leaped backward, out the shattered doorway. I heard it crash through the living room. Then silence. I rushed to the window. The second one outside was gone. The yard was empty. Both of them vanished, like smoke. The police came. They found nothing. No blood, no tracks, no signs of forced entry. They looked at the destroyed bedroom and asked if I'd been drinking. I didn't argue. There was no point. But that wasn't the end. Because 2 nights later, Mrs. Calder disappeared. Her house was found unlocked, lights on, dinner still warm on the stove, and carved into her front door. "Let me in" her handwriting. The town grew quiet after that. No one walked alone at night. No. One answered unknown calls. But I knew it wasn't random. It had chosen me first. It had studied me, and it had learned 3 weeks passed without incident. I almost convinced myself it was over. Then I got a message from Mason's old social media account. A video uploaded at 2:11 a.m. The camera shook violently, like someone was running. Breathing echoed loudly. Then the video stopped moving. It showed the desert at night, and standing in the distance was me. Or something that looked exactly like me, holding a phone, smiling. The caption read, "I found him." My blood froze, because I was home, watching the video, and outside my house. Someone knocked. 2 knocks. Pause. 1 knock. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. No hesitation, no mistake. It had mastered it. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. The knocking continued slow, patient. It wasn't trying to break in this time. It wasn't angry. It was confident, because it knew something I didn't. Then my phone buzzed again. A live camera notification. Backyard motion detected. I opened the feed. There were 3 of them. One wearing Mason's face, one wearing mine, and one still deciding. Its skin rippled like liquid faces, forming, melting, changing, learning. The one wearing my face looked directly into the camera and smiled. Then it spoke in my exact voice. "We're almost ready." The screen went black, and the knocking stopped. But I understood something then. It wasn't trying to get inside my house. It was trying to get inside my life. To replace, to copy, to spread. Because if it could become me perfectly, who would know the difference? And maybe, just maybe, it already had. There's a reason the desert feels empty at night. It isn't. Something just waits until the sun goes down to move. My name is Caleb Warren, and I worked as a wildlife photographer in northern New Mexico. I spent years alone in forests, mountains, deserts, places most people were too afraid or too bored to explore. I didn't believe in legends, not until one followed me home. It started with a job. A rancher named Thomas Ivers called me after losing 12 sheep in 2 weeks. He said it, Dick. Wasn't coyotes, not wolves either. He said whatever it was. Walked on 2 legs. I almost laughed, but he offered good money. So I drove out to his ranch 40 miles from the nearest town, surrounded by dry hills and open desert. The first thing I noticed wasn't the dead sheep. It was the silence. No birds. No insects. No distant animal calls. Just wind scraping across dirt. Thomas met me near the barn. He was in his late 50s, sunburnt, tense. His eyes looked like he hadn't slept. "You're the camera guy?" he asked. "That's me." He didn't shake my hand. "Good. Set up wherever you want. Just don't stay out after midnight." I smiled. Why he didn't? Because that's when it tries to talk. That was the first red flag. The carcasses were behind the barn, torn open, not eaten. The throats were crushed, not cut, ribs broken inward, and the strangest part, the skin, had been partially peeled from 2 of them, like someone had started removing it, then stopped. I knelt down and examined the dirt tracks bare. Footprints, too long, too narrow. The toes were thin and extended unnaturally far, and the stride, at least 6 feet between steps. I felt a chill crawl up my spine. "Bears don't do this," I muttered. Thomas stood behind me. "No," he said quietly, "they don't." That night, I set up infrared cameras along the fence line, motion sensors, audio recorders, and 1 handheld thermal scope. Thomas locked himself inside the house before sunset. I stayed near the barn with my equipment. At 11:43 p.m., the first sound came, a low whistle, soft, almost melodic. It drifted across the ranch like a breeze. Then it stopped. The motion sensor near the south fence triggered. I raised the thermal scope. At first, I saw nothing. Then a shape, tall dot standing just beyond the fence posts, 7 feet at least. Its body temperature registered colder than it should have been. Not like a living animal, more like something that didn't fully belong in this world. It did. Moved slowly along the fence, its gait awkward, like it wasn't used to legs. The thermal image flickered, and then it crouched. I lowered the scope slightly and saw it clearly under moonlight. It looked human at first glance, thin, long limbs, but its back was arched too sharply. Its arms dragged slightly as it walked, and its head tilted in short, jerking motions, like it was studying everything. Then it spoke. "Thomas." The voice was female, soft, crying. Thomas's wife had died 3 years ago. The creature repeated it. "Thomas, open the door." My skin went ice cold. The house lights turned on. I spun toward the porch. Thomas stood inside the doorway, staring into the dark. "Mary," he whispered. "No," I shouted. He stepped forward. The creature straightened to its full height, and I saw its face. It wasn't a face. It was skin, stretched loosely over something angular and wrong. The mouth hung slightly open, too wide. The eyes reflected light like a predator's. But the shape resembled a woman. Barely it took one slow step toward the house. Thomas. The voice cracked halfway through. Glitched dropped into something deeper, something inhuman. Thomas froze. That hesitation saved his life. The creature's mouth split, wider suddenly, unnaturally wide. Its jaw unhinged slightly, and the sound that came out next was not Mary's voice. It was a growl, layered with whispers. Dozens of whispers, all speaking at once. I fired a warning shot into the air. The explosion shattered the silence. The creature snapped, its head toward me instantly. Its movement was too fast, too precise. It didn't flinch at the gunshot. It smiled. Then it did something worse. Its body shifted. The skin rippled like liquid. The outline changed. Its shoulders broadened. Its face reformed, and suddenly it looked like me. Not perfectly, but close enough to make my stomach turn. It tilted its head, mimicking the way I was standing. Then it copied my voice. Thomas. It said perfectly. Thomas gasped behind me. The creature took a step forward, and I realized something horrifying. It wasn't hunting sheep. It wasn't even hunting Thomas. It was learning, practicing, and we were the subjects. The wind stopped. Completely. The world felt suspended. The creature crouched low, then sprinted. Not toward us, but sideways into the darkness. In seconds, it vanished into the desert. The silence returned. Thomas fell to his knees. I told you, he whispered. It tries to wear you. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I reviewed the camera footage at 2:17 a.m. One camera caught it standing directly in front of the lens. 2. Closed its eyes, stared directly inside. Its mouth moved slightly, like it was trying to form words. Then it leaned closer and closer, until its face filled the screen, and it whispered, almost. The video cut to static. That afternoon, Thomas was gone. No struggle, no blood. His front door open, boots still by the entrance, and outside, footprints bare, leading away from the house. But halfway down the dirt road, they changed. They became boot prints. Thomas's boots. Walking back toward the ranch, I stood alone in the yard when I saw him. Walking slowly toward the house. Head down, arms hanging loose. My heart pounded violently. Thomas, I called out. He stopped, slowly lifted his head. His eyes were black, completely black, and his smile, too wide, too patient. He spoke in Thomas's voice, but layered underneath was something else. Caleb, he said gently, you left me alone. Thomas stood 20 yards away from me on the dirt road, but I already knew that wasn't him. His posture was wrong. Thomas had always walked with a slight limp from an old rodeo injury. This figure moved smoothly, evenly, like its joints had never known pain. His head tilted too far to one side, and his eyes, they were completely black. Not dark brown, not shadowed, black like oil. Caleb, he said again, smiling too wide. You shouldn't have stayed. My mouth went dry. I slowly raised the rifle, keeping my hand steady. If you're Thomas, I said carefully, tell me what your wife used to call you. The thing paused. Its smile twitched. Then it answered, Tommy? Correct. My stomach dropped. It took one slow step forward, boots crunching against gravel. But the sound was off. Too heavy, like something bigger was inside that body. "You're not him?" I whispered. Its face flickered. Just for a second. The skin round the mouth stretched slightly, revealing something darker underneath. Something that didn't match the human shape it wore. It stopped smiling. "You look afraid," it said. The voice layered again, Thomas's tone mixed with something hollow and ancient beneath it. "I am," I admitted, and then I fired. The bullet struck its chest. Thomas's body jerked backward and fell to the dirt. For one hopeful second, I thought it was over. Then the body began to move. Not in pain, not in panic, but in adjustment. The limbs bent at unnatural angles. The spine arched. Sharply, the boots split open as the feet inside lengthened. I stumbled backward as the body expanded, stretching the clothes until fabric tore like paper. Skin rippled. Violently, peeling, reforming, Thomas's face sagged and slid. Downward like melting wax. Underneath was something skeletal and elongated. Its mouth widened far beyond human limits. Teeth emerged, long, uneven, predatory. The eyes remained black, unblink. The creature rose slowly from the ground, now taller than before. Its bones cracked loudly as it straightened. "Better," it whispered. Its voice was no longer Thomas's. It was layered with dozens of tones, male, female, old, young, all speaking in unison. I ran. There was no bravery left in me, no logic, just instinct. I sprinted toward my truck, parked near the barn, behind me. I heard it move. Not running, gliding, fast. Too fast. The air around me felt wrong, like static before lightning. I reached the truck and fumbled the keys. The engine roared to life. I slammed the door just as something struck the driver's side window. The glass spider webbed instantly. I turned in. It was there, its face inches from mine. Not Thomas, not me. Something raw and incomplete. Skin hanging loosely from one side, its eyes searching my face. Studying, learning. It raised one long finger and slowly traced the cracked glass. "Caleb," it said softly in my voice. "Perfectly." My heart nearly stopped. I threw the truck into reverse and floored the gas. The creature vanished from sight as I sped down the dirt road, dust exploding behind me. I didn't look back. I didn't stop. Not until I reached the main highway miles away. I drove straight to the nearest town and reported everything. Missing rancher, attack, something. Not human. The police nodded politely. They asked if I'd been drinking. They sent a patrol car to the ranch. By morning, I got a call. They found Thomas alive, sitting inside his kitchen, confused, uninjured. He claimed he'd fallen asleep early and had no memory of leaving the house. No torn clothes, no signs of injury, no damage to the ranch. When I returned with the officers, the barn was untouched. No dead sheep, no tracks, no broken fence, no cameras. All my equipment was gone, like it had never been there. Thomas looked at me strangely. "You feeling okay, son?" he asked. His eyes were normal, brown, warm, but something in his smile felt delayed, like it came a second too late. I left. I didn't argue, because I understood. Something terrifying. It didn't just copy it, corrected it. It erased mistakes. 3 nights later, I was back home in my apartment in Albuquerque. I told myself it was over, that I had imagined most of it, that stress had twisted reality. At 2:11 a.m., my phone buzzed, a video notification from my own cloud storage, uploaded from my account. I opened it. The video showed me sleeping in my bed, filmed from the corner of my bedroom. The timestamp read 2:03 a.m., but I was awake, holding the phone, watching the video. My blood ran cold. The video continued. The version of me in the bed slowly opened his eyes, sat up and turned toward the camera. He smiled, too wide. The screen went black. I heard a sound behind me, a soft knock from inside my apartment. 3 knocks, evenly spaced. I turned slowly toward my bedroom door. It was closed, but the handle was moving. Gently testing my phone buzzed again. Another notification. Front door camera. I opened it. Standing outside my apartment door was me, wearing the same clothes I had on, holding nothing, just smiling at the camera. The feed. GLITCHE. Then it spoke. Through the door, in my exact voice. You left me alone. I couldn't breathe, because if it was outside, and I was inside, then who was the one in the bedroom video? The knocking inside my apartment stopped. The air grew cold. Then I heard footsteps, slow, deliberate behind me. I didn't want to turn around. I didn't want to see it. But I did. Standing in my living room was another version of me. Head tilted, eyes. Black dot smile stretching wider by the second. It steadied my posture, my breathing, my fear. Then it spoke softly. We're almost ready. Outside the apartment door, the other one began knocking. 2 knocks. Pause. 1 knock. Perfect. The one inside mirrored my movements, step for step, breath for breath. And that's when I understood it. Didn't want to replace one person. It wanted 2. Multiply. 2. Perfect the imitation. To spread unnoticed. Because if it could copy me perfectly, it could copy anyone. My phone slipped from my hand and hit the floor. The screen cracked, but the last notification still showed. New upload successful. Username, Caleb Warren. Status, active. The creature smiled wider and whispered one final sentence. In my voice, you're not needed anymore. The lights went out, and somewhere in the dark something inhaled deeply, like it was finally comfortable in my skin. The desert isn't empty at night. Not really. It's full of shadows that move too fast, too quietly, too deliberately. I learned that the hard way. My name is Ryan Keller, and I'm a freelance journalist. I've chased stories of haunted towns, disappearances, and cryptids. But nothing prepared me for what I encountered in the Navajo Highlands. I was following rumors of a Skinwalker, a shapeshifter, that locals said could imitate anyone it wanted. Children, friends, husbands, wives, and sometimes even strangers. I didn't believe it. I was a reporter. I knew the tricks of the mind, but curiosity has a way of being fatal. It started when I met an old man named Samuel on the edge of the reservation. His hands shook as he handed me a weathered head map. This is where it hunts, he said, voice low, eyes darting. Follow the trail at your own risk. But remember, it learns, and it waits for mistakes. He refused payment. I didn't argue. I only nodded. That night, I camped near the cliffs, camera ready, notebook in hand, recorder on. Wind swept across the canyon. Stars glittered. Silence pressed in like a weight. Around midnight, the sound came. A soft whistling. At first, I thought it was the wind. Then a voice called my name. Ryan. I froze. The voice was familiar. Warm, friendly. My childhood friend's voice. Mark. I spun around. Nothing. Ryan. Again closer. I grabbed my flashlight and swept the area. Then I saw movement. Figgy crouched near the brush. Tall, thin, limbs slightly too long. Eyes gleaming faintly in the moonlight. It stood and stretched. Its movements were unnatural, too fluid to be human. And then it spoke. Ryan, come here. Its lips moved like my friend Mark's. Its face, almost exact. I stumbled back. It's not him, I whispered. The creature tilted its head, cocked slightly. Its body rippled as though under a tight elastic skin. And then it smiled too wide. Too wronged it began, moving toward me, step after step. Careful, calculated, watching my reactions. I ran, not fast enough. It's not that it chased me. It didn't need to. It mirrored my movements, anticipating, predicting. I reached a narrow canyon path. Rocks loose under my boots. It followed, silent, almost gliding. Then a sound that made my blood turn to ice. My own voice, calling from behind me. Ryan, Stop. I stumbled, whirl around. Nothing, only shadows. I realized then the Skinwalker could mimic me. Not just my appearance, my voice, my exact cadence, my panic, and the deeper I ran into the desert, the more I understood. It wasn't hunting for food. It was hunting for identity. Hours passed. I lost the creature in a rocky outcrop, or so I thought. I collapsed near a small cave to catch my breath. Then I heard it, inside the cave, breathing, slow, measuring, waiting. I whispered a prayer, knowing none of it would help. The shadows shifted, and it stepped into the dim moonlight. Its form wasn't fixed. It flickered. Pieces of human shapes folded over each other. Limbs bent wrong, face stretched too long. It tilted its head toward me, and then it spoke not my friend's voice anymore, but dozens of voices at once. Ryan, I am you, and you are me, I screamed. I ran again, but the canyon walls closed in, and I realized something horrifying. The Skinwalker didn't just imitate. It studied, learned, and eventually, it would replace by sunrise. I stumbled back to my car. I thought I'd escaped. But as I drove toward the nearest highway, the rearview mirror caught something. Standing at the canyon's edge, silhouetted against the rising sun, was a figure. 7 feet tall. Limbs wrong, face shifting constantly, and in one fluid motion, it raised its head and smiled. Exactly like mine. The night was only the beginning, because when I reached the reservation police station, they didn't believe me. There's no one. Missing, they said. No footprints, no evidence. You probably got lost. I wanted to argue. I wanted to explain. But deep down, I knew it didn't matter. The Skinwalker didn't need anyone to believe it. It only needed to survive, to learn, and to Wait. I didn't sleep that day. I barely ate. I sat in my car outside a gas station on the edge of the reservation. trying to convince myself it was over. But I knew it wasn't. That thing, whatever it was, had learned my face, my voice, my habits. And it was patient. It waited. By nightfall, I decided to return to the canyon. Not because I was brave, but because I had to understand what I was dealing with. Armed with a camera, a flashlight, and a revolver I didn't intend to fire, I walked the rocky path again. The wind whispered around me, carrying scents of sand, dust, and something fouled, almost rotting. The canyon was empty at first. No movement, no whispers, just my own footsteps echoing off the walls. Then, a faint whistle. Slow, deliberate. Ryan and the Pia. The voice was perfect, my own. I froze. Ryan, come here. And from the shadow of a large boulder, it emerged. The Skinwalker. Its form constantly shifting. First it looked like a woman, then a man, then a teenager, then me. Its limbs were elongated, joints bending in ways that should have been impossible. Its face flickered a grotesque slideshow of every human expression it had ever studied, and when it spoke, it used my voice again. You can't run forever. I swallowed hard. You're not human, I said. It tilted its head. I am what survives, it said. I take what I must. Learn, adapt, become. The shadows around it seemed to pulse, almost alive. I realized then that this thing didn't just mimic humans. It absorbed them. Knowledge, patterns, behaviors, even fear. I raised my revolver, hand trembling. It laughed, a low, wet sound that echoed off the canyon walls. Then it shifted into a form almost identical to mine. Every detail perfect. Even the way I held the gun, it lifted a finger mirroring me. And in that instant, I understood. It had already learned how I moved. I couldn't outfight it. I couldn't outrun it. Not here, so I did the only thing I could. I ran deeper into the canyon, hoping to lose it in the rocks. It followed, always a step behind, always watching, learning, waiting. Hours passed. The moon rose high, casting thin silver light across jagged rocks. I stumbled into a narrow crevice, forcing myself into a corner. And there it was, my double, perfect, breathing silently, watching me. You can't hide, it whispered in my own voice. Not from me, not from what I am. I screamed and fired the revolver blindly. The bullet hit the rock beside it, sparking off stone. It didn't flinch. Instead, it tilted its head, examining the wound like a scientist observing a specimen. I learn, it said. Pain, fear, anger, all of it. I remember. I adapt. I dropped the gun. Tears burned my eyes. I realized then that this creature wasn't evil. Not in the way humans understand evil. It was a predator, perfected by knowledge. Every move I made, every thought I had, it could replicate. And eventually, it could replace me entirely. The canyon grew silent. I waited for the attack. Nothing came. Then a whisper, soft and chilling. You're ready now. I didn't understand. It shifted form again, becoming a thin, almost skeletal version of me. Eyes, black as night, smile impossibly wide. Then it spoke one last time. Soon, everyone will be like me. I felt the air shift. The shadows around it coalesced, stretching toward the canyon walls. And then it vanished. No sound, no movement, no trace. I stumbled out of the canyon at dawn, exhausted, shaken, knowing I had survived, but only barely, back in Albuquerque. I tried to warn people. I wrote emails to the authorities, posted online, called old contacts. No one believed me. They laughed, they mocked, but I knew the truth. The Skinwalker wasn't just one creature. It was a process, a force. It studied, learned, copied, replaced, and wherever it existed, it could eventually take the place of anyone. Anyone at all. Weeks passed. I started noticing it everywhere. A friend at work. Her voice sounded slightly wrong on the phone. A neighbor who smiled too long when we greeted each other. A news anchor who blinked oddly. And one night, returned. Home from a late assignment and froze in my doorway, sitting in my living room, was my reflection. Or rather, someone who looked exactly like me. It waved and whispered in my own voice, "Hello, Ryan. I've been waiting." I didn't move, because I knew running wouldn't help. Because I understood finally what the Navajo elders had always known. The Skinwalker doesn't just kill. It doesn't just hunt. It survives. It replaces. And eventually, it will become everyone. I backed out slowly. The creature mirrored me. It smiled, and in that smile, I saw the future. A world where it didn't matter who you were, because one day you would be gone, replaced, perfected, forgotten. The shadows of the desert stretched long and cold that night, and I knew I would never be alone again.